as someone who has had property managers since day one, has unfortunately had to fire 4 or 5 of them during my journey, it's always fun to see how property managers evolve over time. We have the CEO of Hemlane who provides the platform for mom and pop investors. So I thought she and I should look into the future and talk about what's going on with property managers. How you doing, Dana?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again.
Awesome. So when you look out in the future, I think you're helping manage what was it, 20,000 rental units under the platform of Hemlane. Is that right?
Yeah, over 20,000.
Wow. So when you look out in the future for mom and pop landlords, property managers, property manager technology, what are you seeing in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, and I would also love to reverse it because you've probably seen a transformation since you purchased your properties. So there's a couple of things that I see happening and will continue to happen with it. So the first trend I see is anyone who is not using top software, so enterprise software built for property managers. Anyone who is not using that will not be able to service their customers. And there's way too many property management softwares out there. So there's like 5,000 because it's super easy to build a SaaS platform these days. You can basically bootstrap that. But having top of the line technology, some folks are like, oh, well, this software is cheaper than this one. And so they go with the cheap option. Those property managers lose out. So like the first thing is property managers, you have to be tech enabled. I've even heard from some property managers, them saying, hey, I won't allow my tenants to pay online because I don't want the software to take my job. And that is just actually shooting yourself in the foot by saying, actually, I'm going to be more inefficient. I'm going to have worse margins, reduced cash flow because I can't manage as many properties. And I'm doing manual administrative things that like literally give any value to my customer, who is the owners and the tenants. So I think technology is one of them. I think the more interesting trends that I see is I don't see institutional investors in like rental properties increasing drastically. I still see it as the retail investor, who is us, the us of the world, who have 1 to 50 rental properties, mass market is 1 to 20 rentals. I still see that being the predominant owners of real estate. And so the question is, which property managers service them? With an average of 3 employees. And of those 137 with an average of 3 employees, you're going to see a consolidation there. And you're going to see a consolidation, one, in search funds. So Michael, are you familiar with the search fund model?
I am not. Why don't you tell us? I am, but the audience is not. Tell the audience what a search fund is.
Yeah. So what a search fund is essentially where you go and you get money from friends, family, other like high net worth individuals, and you say, I'm going to go buy companies. And you go and you call every property management company out there and say, hey, Michael, you own a property management company. You're 80 years old. Michael, I know you're not 80, but you're 80 years old. You're retiring. Would you like to purchase this property? That is the first thing that you're going to see in there, or sorry, would you be willing to sell your company?
Yeah.
And you come in with money and then you operationalize it and make it more efficient. You're going to see more of that. So search funds coming in and buying like 3, 4 small mom and pop property managers in a city, and then consolidating them together, providing operational efficiency.
Yep.
You're also going to see tech-enabled property managers come in once with a broker's license and buy up the small mom and pops. And then the third trend that you're going to see, and the final one that I have, is hybrid property management. So you're going to see more players like us who say, hey, for owner operators, we can connect you with the right support on the ground. We can connect you with that right support. And at the same time, you can manage your properties from anywhere. So those are the trends I see. I think search for funds is probably the most interesting of it. Michael, I'd like to hear your thoughts too, especially as you've seen the transformation with PMs.
Yeah, I think that's kind of when we proposed this topic, it's kind of how I broke it down as well. I think over the next 5 years, tech enabled is absolutely where it's going. The momentum is clear. When I started this, it was paper and fax. Yes, I am that old. It's now online with apps and audit trail and email and text and all of that. We're going to get more of that versus less going forward. I think that makes sense. I do think there's a lot of consolidation coming. I think tech in general, the last couple of years has been anybody with a bright idea can get some money, which leads to lots of silos and lots of inefficiencies. So I think there's not only going to be search funds looking for property managers, there are going to be people going out and building their toolbox and then kind of stitching them together on the back end. I think you said there's 5,000 solutions out there today. It probably wouldn't shock me if there's less than 2,000, maybe even 1,500 in 5 years. Because again, property management is hard. Building tools for property managers is like hard cubed. So it may sound like a good idea. It may be easy to bootstrap a SaaS solution, but once you get past the early adopters, it's not profitable, right? I've been in tech for 20 some odd years, and I created brand new products from nothing for 15 years. It's hard. And then when the funding dries off, right? You got the folks like at the All In podcast, and you got all these other folks pointing at private equity saying I think there was 450 unicorns who couldn't raise money this year. Man, there's going to be a lot of people that are dying because they didn't adjust their burn. So I think consolidation is coming across the board. I think the ultimate winners of this is going to be mom and pop landlords, because like you, I don't believe the hype that these big institutions are going to dominate, mom and pops leaving. I just don't see that happening. I think they're about 1 or 1.5% of the market today. Could they get to 2 or 2.5? Sure. Some people are talking 10%. I don't see it.
No.
I think, frankly, the government would come in with a big old hammer and make sure that didn't happen. Plus, I think what they're going to get over the next couple of years is a lot of more activity in commercial, which is where they played historically. They're going to get vulture funds and debt funds. The opportunity in single family was the last 4 years. I think these big institutions are going elsewhere going forward, which is they're far more comfortable with. So I do think mom and pop landlords, it's night and day. When I started 20 years ago to today, I think the next 3 to 5 years is going to be equally impressive. I mean, in our video one today, you talked about artificial intelligence for helping in leasing and advertising, using fair housing and all that complexity. I think it only gets better. I will throw out one thing that might be interesting. I think one of the things that could be interesting in 5 years is there's kind of I don't know what I would call it, a one size fits all. I'm almost envisioning property management is where, obviously Hemlane's focused, but there's two pieces that are equally important that I think will be bolted on by someone in the future. One is legal and one is accounting. And I'm not talking bookkeeping accounting. I'm talking, file your taxes accounting, because there are some decisions and things you could do inside of all of that. I sort of seeing, and maybe it's like your eviction add-on. It's like, hey, when you're ready for it, you add it on. But I could start to see attorneys and property managers and accountants, because let's be clear, no one person is all of those, nor should one person be all of those. So I think in 5 years, there's a solution out there that's like, okay, I'm a mom and pop with 3 units. I'm going to get, property management first. Oh, by the way, maybe I'm in multiple states. How should I file my taxes? Let's add that on. And, how should I incorporate or LLC or I could sort of see that as, the platinum option in 3 to 5 years. That's my one add-on.
Yeah. And I think the gamification of that is huge. Like, that's why I do see search funds and operationalizing things making sense. Because to your point, no person is a lawyer, an accountant, a good salesperson, good at operations. Like, one person can't do it all. But accounting and legal work very closely together, because
they
have to set up.
They certainly should.
to maximize your income, your cash flow. And a lot of that has to do with, okay, let's talk about taxes. Let's talk about entity structure. Let's talk about balance of these. When should you set up an LLC? All of that goes into these questions. And so you're right, having the right add-ons at the right time.
Yeah, I think that'll be very interesting. I think property management, I don't know, the space is light years where it's from. I think the next 3 to 5 years is going to be pretty impressive because I do think consolidation will actually um, create focus, and the best of
Yeah.
the best will go to the front. So I certainly believe that Hemlane will be there, likely an acquisition versus an acquisition E. So it's going to be fun to see what you do. You already have a lot of innovation from your engineers and product teams. Over the next 3 to 5 years, I'm sure you'll have the opportunity to add some cool stuff. If somebody wanted to play with the platform, where are we sending them?
Yeah, you can go to www.hemlane, which is HEMLANE.com, and click try for free. Mention one rental at a time for 20% off your first year.
That's so cool. Again, folks, if you're actually in my free course, she created a PDF where you can go through and play with the software. I highly recommend it. Dana, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.